Well, clearly, off the Dallas debacle, we need a winning formula for this Baltimore Ravens game, and we welcome you to Winning Formula with yours truly, Paul Allen. Former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Ben Leber, sideline analyst, Minnesota Vikings Radio Network. Gabe Henderson, game-changing wide receiver at Liberty. Yes, that is Division I. And also with the Vikings Entertainment Network, and the winning formula begins like this. Ben Leber, the defense sadly has lost Danielle Hunter for the season, so this is take one against the Baltimore Ravens. What's the winning formula for getting around this one?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Look, we saw last year what happened with Danielle out of the lineup, and we saw basically the second half of last week's game with him out of the lineup, and it's no bueno. But I do think that having Everson back is going to be key. I think we go back to moving Everson to the inside. I do think that there's opportunities for him with his quickness, his violence to play on the inside. Then you have Patrick Jones, who they say is Everson-like with his violence. You get him on the outside along with DJ Wanham, who's shown some flashes, and along with Sheldon Richardson, and in obvious passing downs. I'm not saying that in base situations you have Everson as an inside three technique rusher rushing over the center, but I think in long yardage situations, get him up to speed on some of our blitz packages, what a defensive tackle has to do, and play him on the inside, and hopefully his speed, quickness, and tenacity pays off.
What are you going to do here?
I like that take. I do like Everson Griffin on the outside still, but if you do move him inside, maybe a Anthony Barr goes outside and you can rush a little bit better. But I think this is a time for DJ Wanham to step up. Last year, it was his first year in the NFL. He didn't have any knowledge from any veterans to give him insight on how to rush a passer. Now he's been a backup. Last year he had 3 sacks. He's got 1 being a backup to Danielle Hunter and Everson Griffin. Now is the time to show who you really are. But looking at some of the guys in the 2020 draft class, from a Patrick Queen or a Mike Highsmith, those guys have made another step in their career. Now is the time for DJ Wanham, if he wants to be considered a guy in the 2020 draft class that was a really good pick. Now is the time to do it. He's got the opportunity to do it, and why not step up to the moment facing a guy in Tyree Phillips, who's also a right tackle in the 2020 draft. So let's show us who you are.
Hey, let's land the plane on the defensive piece here momentarily. You mentioned Sheldon Richardson, 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss, okay? Ain't nobody here at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center trying to run down one of our favorite players, but James Lynch played nose against Dallas. Correct me if I'm wrong here. He can play some 3 technique, and I'd like to see James get a little more run.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that too. I mean, the way that he played in that Carolina game, I think gives us all a little bit of a glimpse on what he can do. Now, granted, he had a sack that was largely aided by Eric Kendricks on the linebacker pick.
Yep.
But it's his ability to set everything up. I think one-on-one situations, maybe not his forte at this point in time. I don't think that he's quick enough and has the arm leverage and the arm length to win a lot of one-on-one battles.
Okay.
But if he gets in the blitz package and he can move around and he can have other guys pick for him and he can pick for other people, he's a big-bodied, strong guy that can help out the whole totality of the pass rush.
Getting that middle thrust, that pass rush from the inside is so key. Now, offensively, the Minnesota Vikings compensate Dalvin Cook. That's supposed to be good every single game. Gabe Henderson, who knows offense incredibly well, he champions the cause of throwing the ball en masse to Dalvin Cook this game. Why is it so important this game?
Because they blitz so much. The Baltimore Ravens, they're batting cleanup when it comes to how much they blitz versus other teams in the NFL. They blitz the 4th most out of any team in the NFL. 32% of dropbacks, they're blitzing. Don Martindale, their defense coordinator, took over the reins in 2018. The Baltimore Ravens have been the most heavy blitzing defense in 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Whoa.
So when you have all those guys coming at you, leak Dalvin out. Throw him some quick routes. Get the ball in his hand now, because he's going to be one-on-one, man-to-man in space with Patrick Queen or another guy that doesn't even see Dalvin's shoes or should see the back of Dalvin's cleats most of this upcoming game.
Analyze that. What do you think? Throwing a lot to Dalvin? 7, 8, 9 times? Are we talking like that?
Like Green Bay Packers last year when Dalvin, you throw him a screen, he takes it 50 yards to the house. They will be sending guys, especially on 3rd down. So why not get the ball into your playmaker's hands right now and let him do his thing?
What do you think?
Well, I love the theory. I went with it last week in my bold predictions that our running backs would have over 100 yards receiving, and that one was not very good. But I would say, I think you can be sneakier about it. I do think that getting the ball in his hands in the passing game is important. But I don't think necessarily in a screen game situation where they are going to be prepared and ready for us for the screen game. In the boot game as well. I think that where he could have some big gains in the passing game is inside check releases. Because we have to be so much better about protecting our A-gaps for Kirk. And I think this is a team, to like Gabe is saying, they're going to bring pressure.
Yeah.
And the most formidable pass pressure is going to come up the middle. So for all of our running backs, and Dalvin Cook included, protect the A-gaps, be a pass blocker. But then, then you leak out.
Yeah, I like that.
I like the theory of doing that, whether it's intentional or not. I think that if Kirk can keep that in his mind that, hey, I've always got to I'm going to have a check down in Dalvin Cook, to your point, there's nobody as far as their linebackers going to cover him in the second level in the open field.
At 55 years of age, anytime there's positive leakage conversation, it's a good thing. What were you going to say?
Yeah, Cook, cleats, that's what the defender should be seeing on Sunday. And granted, Dalvin Cook has pretty much been, irrelevant in the pass game this year. Only 73 passing yards. I think this is a game that he shows himself to say, okay, I'm Dalvin Cook, I'm back, and I can do this any given Sunday.
The wacky prediction portion of the equation, some call it bold predictions. It's the bane of my existence. I don't know about you guys, but seriously, I whiff as much as the worst baseball player that you've ever known in your life with these. So, man, what are we going to do this week, Gabe? Let's start with you with these wacky predictions. What do you got?
All right, so the Baltimore Ravens have given up 3 400-yard passers in the first 7 games. And I'm not going to say Kirk Cousins is going to have 400 passing yards, but I will say 350.
Do it.
And I'm saying it because they give up the most yak, and it's yucky how much yak they give up after the catch.
Sweet.
Yards after catch, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook, they will have a lot of that this upcoming Sunday, getting Kirk Cousins those 350 plus.
Yeah, the way that Dallas Cowboys game went, boys, that made me yak in a different way than yards after catch. So let's go ahead and turn that frown upside down. I'm glad you went with that because like with my wacky bits, Chris Herndon's going to have a touchdown. He didn't. Then the next week he did. Last week I'm like, Kirk, 375 and 3, here it comes. And he didn't, so this week he will. What are you going to do here for these wacky predictions?
Well, like I said, I've already outed myself that last week I was terrible at saying our running back's going to have over 100 yards receiving. But book this one.
Yeah.
This one, I promise you, book this one. As much as we've talked about not having Danielle and what are we going to do with the pass rush, I still think that we walk away with at least 4 sacks on defense. Look, I think that Lamar has challenged himself. You still looking for some leakage over there?
I'm looking for those sacks without Danielle. I'm playing with you.
So I do think that Lamar has challenged himself this year to be a pocket passer, to get the ball down the field. And you've seen teams that can confuse him when they drop 8. You bring only 3 rushers, you drop 8, you take away all those passing windows, and he'll pat the ball. And I think that our 3 guys in those situations can do enough to get to him and to get sacks. I also think you look at last week's tape, 3rd and long situations, they got blitzed a ton, and he did not handle it very well at all. So I think with all the disguise packages, you mug up in the line of scrimmage as much as you can, whether it's for real or not, and you bring that pressure. I think you have to challenge Lamar on his ability to break down the defense on the fly, pressure him, but also mix in some drop 8. I think you can confuse this dude.
I'm going to nail the bleep out of this curly, wacky prediction. I swear, here it comes. Everybody ready? Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Vikings will beat the Baltimore Ravens in overtime, and kicker Greg Joseph will walk off a winner, just like he did in 2018 with the Cleveland Browns when he had his first walk-off winner against the Baltimore Ravens. Our work is done. Yours has just begun. Gabe Henderson, Ben Leber, Paul Allen, winning formula. Bye.
God, I hope you're wrong. I got a flight to catch.